Hello and welcome to the Winners Find a Way show. I am your host, Trent Clark, CEO of Leadership, serial entrepreneur, international speaker, longtime coach in professional baseball, coaching in 3 World Series. And I'm fired up today. We got Marques Ogden, former NFL star. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, sir? How's everything coming along?
Oh, man, it's so good. It's almost criminal, right? So I am thankful you could be here, man. You got referred to me from a good friend of mine over at Sports Faith, Marques. And we don't know each other that well, but we're getting to know each other. It's pretty awesome. Before I tell people a little bit about you, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, they can go to our website, Trent. They can go to www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com, and they can check us out. That's our website. We have a contact us or connect with us tab. They can, shoot us an email. You can go to our website, shoot us a direct message. We're really easy to get in touch with because we really believe connecting with people is what life's all about.
Love it. I love it. That's awesome. So, a little bit of background on you. You're a Raleigh-Durham guy now, but grew up in D.C., which, by the way, I mean, pretty tough area to come out of. I get a kick out of D.C. schools because in the D.C. proper, that area, there's a ton of athletes. It's this tiny little area, right? And it's a very unique environment. And then, of course, you went to Howard, which is an awesome school. And I assume you played football at Howard before you ventured on into the NFL. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit now in business today, entrepreneur, what are you doing today?
So today I'm a national, international keynote speaker, executive coach, best-selling author. I am a consultant. I am a podcast co-host of the 11 Marques Show. We are a globally ranked top 1.5% most listened to podcast worldwide. And just really fortunate to have some great people on our team. And of course, I'm a former NFL athlete.
Yeah. What's your book, Marques?
It's called The Success Cycle. And it's interesting. I just actually had a client buy 35 books for one of their real estate partners. And I just got through signing all 35. And he's actually going to pick them up tomorrow. He's going to be ordering 150, I think, books today or tomorrow for another big real estate partner of theirs in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Love it. The Success Cycle. That's like a book I can't wait to read right there, man. I love it. So tell us one thing most people don't know about you, Marques.
I'm a big reality TV watcher. My wife and I have been together now for almost a decade. It'll be 10 years in July, married for 7 in May. And my wife got me into, soap operas like General Hospital. We haven't been watching that much lately these days, but we do like reality TV, like 600-Pound Life or other things like that. We do have a great go-to show we watch as well. But, it's a reality TV is my thing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I had Brant Pinvidic on the show. He was a producer of The Bachelor. He did The Biggest Loser, all sorts of reality. He's an all-star. He also wrote The 3-Minute Rule. I'm gonna have to connect you two guys. You'll love it. So at any rate, that's awesome. So for everybody who has not had a chance, and this is your first time listening to this show, this is what Winners Find a Way is about. Have you ever faced stiff adversity, felt like the losses are mounting, and you need to find a better way? Well, I think you've come to the right place, whether you are already an entrepreneur, athlete, business leader, or just looking to become the elite and take that journey. Like, I think this is the perfect podcast for you. I interview 1%ers that come in and talk about how they overcame and how they won. So, Marques, no different with you. Tell me a little bit about when you were a kid in DC, and is there a moment like you're like, man, I'm in the NFL, like this is an automatic, I know I can do this, or what was a pivot that really set you on your route?
So for me, growing up in DC was great. Single parent household, single father household. Went to St. John's College High School in Northwest Washington, DC. Got one football scholarship offer to Howard University, took that opportunity, went to Howard, became a 4-year starter. And for me, I really never imagined being an NFL athlete because when you get one scholarship offer to college coming out of a pretty good high school, the WCAC is a very competitive high school leagues. You've got St. John's, DeMatha, Gonzaga, Good Counsel. I mean, there's a lot of great 5-star schools in our conference. So there were guys in my conference going to Alabama, North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Notre Dame, Miami, Boston College, all across the board. And I got no offers until the end. So when I got to Howard, I was all about, hey, if I become a starter, maybe 1 or 2 years, that's awesome. I actually became a 4-year starter, and I was drafted to the National Football League. And I never, ever thought I was going to be drafted to the NFL. Again, I was looking to become an investment banker, work on Wall Street. That was my, what I thought was going to happen. But, luckily for me, between hard work and being part of that 1%, I did what I had to do, and I was drafted into the National Football League in 2003.
It's unbelievable. I mean, that's very cool. And I want to tell something to everybody listening out there as a parent, and some kids listen to the show too. I say this a lot when I speak publicly. You don't need every college coach to love you. You need one, right? Like, this is very important. Like Mark is saying, like, hey man, he's got all these people going around that's going to the who's who of, by the way, college football, schools you mentioned, right?
Absolutely.
And hey, and it's a fine university. Howard says, hey, listen, we like you, Marcus. We want you to come down. He takes advantage of a great opportunity to do something that so few get a chance to do. But for athletes that are still pressing out there, and you think like, hey, man, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance. There are lots of kids that are coming out. I'm watching Dougie Buckets, Doug Eberhard over there down at St. Peter, not far from you there on the DC area, but up in New Jersey. And listen, he's not recruited by a ton of schools, but St. Peter's had their day, right? And he's getting a scholarship, playing basketball, doing what he loves, getting a high education. Now he's got some NIL deals, pretty exciting. But at the end of the day, folks, get those people who want you. And I love, Marcus, that you leaned into that. Tell people, hey, Trent calls me, says, hey, come on my show. Why is it important for you to come out and talk about your story and come on my show, Marcus?
Well, here's the thing. In life, you're going to have adversity. Somebody had a great saying, you're either getting out of adversity, you're in adversity, or you're about to be in adversity. It's just the way life is. And so I'm a big believer in giving people information, knowledge, and how to come out on the other side, because if you don't learn how to deal with adversity or how to handle it, you're not going to succeed in life, because life is full of challenges, ups and downs, professional life. If you're with somebody, you get married, marriage is phenomenal. I've been married for almost 7 years, and I wouldn't change that for the world. But marriage is work. I mean, you have to work at it, because, no relationship is perfect. You have, people have ups and downs and mood swings and this and that. And, if you don't learn how to adjust or make pivots in relationships to better yourself and connect with your partner, and that's what I feel. I feel a lot of people today, divorce is an easy out, because I don't want to change. I don't want to get well, and I can find better grass on the other side. Well, to me, how about you water the grass where you're at and stop trying to find something else, so that's what it's all about. And that's life. Don't try to look for the easy out. Try to figure out how can you push through a situation to make you better. So in life, when you go through other challenges, you're prepped and ready to go.
Well, I think it's a huge lesson, Marcus, right there for people. And then, I hate that term, easy out, right? Easy out, because, the people that I know, and I'm a blessed man. Like, my parents were together a long time. My father passed, and they were married 57 years. Right. But man, when I hear people say easy out, you and I, especially as athletes, right? We both know there are consequences for all your actions. Hey, don't want to do the workout in the gym? That's not a problem. Someone will take your job. Someone's going to be stronger. Someone's going to be busier. So, I took the easy out. I didn't go to workouts. Oh, how is that working down the line here? Because now you don't play. Now you don't get an opportunity. So when I hear and I talk to a lot of divorced kids going through it, and I talk to a lot of adults from divorced families, and when they say, hey, they took an easy out, boy, it wasn't easy for them. It wasn't an easy out for somebody. I mean, there's a lot of downstroking effect. So, man, when I hear people telling me about, hey, I'm going to take an easy out, man, I it's like red flags go up on me. You know what I mean? It's like alarms are sounding inside. Like, hey, man, let's just play that out for a minute of how easy that might be in 5 years and how that's going to look. And financially, as an angel in Anaheim, man, that was a really tough thing. I watched a divorce, kill people financially, just
Oh yeah.
almost put
Oh
them in
yeah.
the poorhouse.
Oh yeah. That's the number one reason athletes end up financially broke is divorce.
Mm.
Because by that time taxes and everything else, and let's say you get half your money, which is great. But if you go through a divorce, then your half is going to be cut in half again, minimum.
Yeah.
And then from there, you've got potentially child support, alimony, all these things. And next thing you know, you turn around and you have nothing left. So divorce is probably, again, I read an article, Trent, that's the number one cause of athletes to go bankrupt or broke is divorce.
Well, I think even John Q. Public. I have 5 children. It's expensive for all 7 of us, right? Under one roof, man. I start paying for 2 residences, 2 families, 2. Man. I mean, hey, I guess I could work 20 hours a day. I don't know, but I can tell you. Let's go back to I took an easy out, and now I work 20 hours a day. Doesn't sound like it was an easy out, Trent. No, and nobody's happy. I'm not happy. My kids aren't happy. My ex-wife's not happy. My current wife's not happy because she doesn't see me either. So man, easy out, boom, alarms just sounding all over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love the quote from Chris McChesney, Sean Covey in the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Winners, when shown data that they are losing, find a way to win. You and I know this very well from competing most of our lives. I mean, it's almost second nature to us, right? It's if we go in at halftime of the football game and we're down 28-7, and the coach says, "Listen, everything's going great. Keep doing what you're doing." Everyone's looking at each other like, "Wait a minute!" Our data that we're losing is clear. We are getting smoked out there. They are handling us up front. They're doing anything they want, and we better do something different, right? But we're not going to stay the same because we've gotten, this is a superpower of athletes, by the way. For those who are listening, this is an absolute superpower. Athletes have a level of adaptability unlike any other, which is why so many corporations want to hire folks that have been in this game at the level that Marques has played at. So let's talk about that. Take me to a time when you were down. And I don't want to relive it. I just want to revisit it, right? But I want to talk about a time where you felt like, man, this is not great for me. I'm not happy. Nobody's happy. It's not working. I've got to find a different way. If it keeps going down this way, only peril, nothing good. But then you came out of that. I want to hear about that story, about how that changed you, what you did.
So that's when I ended up losing everything after my construction company went bankrupt in 2013. I moved to Raleigh and I was fired from 2 jobs in the same week. I was fired from Merrill Lynch, and then I got a job the very next day to a construction company and fired from that job 5 days later because they closed down the sales store of their operation. I'm out of a job. So that was really, without a doubt, Trent, the lowest point of my life, because I had lost everything financially, home, cars, everything, no credit cards, no means of real access to capital. And, I was almost homeless. Thank God the NFL stepped in and paid some of my bills through the Gene Upshaw Trust Fund. So I didn't go bankrupt. I didn't go homeless, but I faced a lot of adversity. But that, without a doubt, that was June, July of 2013 when I was on the couch and my fiance, who's now my wife, told me, you have one day to mope. And once you finish moping, you need to get up off the couch and figure out what you're going to do and how to earn money and how you're going to start supporting yourself and us. Now, she had a job and she was working. So then I said, well, I've been fired from corporate America and I know football and I have some sort of business sense because I built a business and I lost it all. Let's start a small football brand. And that's what we did. And, we had some really good success, in that regard. So that was the thing that I did to kind of get my life going back in some sort of order after I lost everything in 2013. Well, 12, 13.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. You come out of that, you've been a competitor all your life. And you go from a high level successes to a low level low, near homelessness, right? Talk to me about the superpower that separates you from others that catapulted you to the 1% in the first place, took you back on your route again?
So the superpower is I finally faced my biggest critic and biggest enemy, which was myself. And I got the superpower of accountability and responsibility, where accountability is external, accountability is internal. It's an internal promise that you make to yourself to get yourself back on track. So accountability is the internal promise. And then responsibility is the external promise that you make to others to do what's necessary to either help yourself, to support them, or to help them in that regard. So, that was my superpower. I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I stopped playing the victim game. I stopped playing the blame game. And, I kind of got my life right back on track. And, that's kind of where it is, today. And so that was the superpower that I was able to utilize to get myself going back on even keel.
Did you feel like you had that dialed in when you were playing at Howard? Did you feel like because of the regimented schedule, because of the commitment to school, football, we don't have a lot of time. I was a 2-sport Division I athlete, right? There's not a lot of time to jack around. Like you're pretty regimented and you get pretty structured into the environment quickly in order to be successful. If you're going to be successful, if you don't want to play inside the structure, your likelihood of success goes down much, much quicker. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you're not going to play within the structure and the team, dynamics, you're not going to have a job, because people aren't going to put up with that kind of stuff if you're not going to execute the game plan from a strategic standpoint, from a tactical standpoint. They're just not going to put up with that type of, of inadequacy.
So as a young adult, you had that dialed in pretty good. Do you think like as you went through your professional career, you kind of drifted off that and moved away from it?
Well, no, I think I drifted away from it when I built my construction company and had massive success. And I became a egomaniac that was all about fame, money, notoriety. And I chased what I call external motivating factors, things that don't matter. And because I did that, that's when I lost sight of what was really important. Again, taking care of business, being humble, being on the plan, staying the course, all those things I needed to do fell by the wayside.
I love these three, first of all, 3 great words. We love it. The itties, right? Accountability, responsibility. I mean, I feel like, Marcus, today's environment, accountability is like a 4-letter word. Like Bill, oh, listen, you mean like when I told you I'd have it Friday, you're actually going to hold me to that? Yeah. Like, this is the new world. Like, what are you talking about? Of course I'm going to hold you that. This is how we run our organization. This is how, if everyone just has 0 deadlines and we're all just going to do what we want to do, let me know how that productivity turns out, because I don't think it's going to turn out very well.
Oh, here's the thing. If there's no accountability and no responsibility, you're finished. You're absolutely finished, because you're not going to be able to push to the next level if you're not going to be able to say, hey, I need help in this regard, but I'm going to do this. Accountability, but in order to be responsible to you, I'm going to do this, and this, or I need help so I can do this, and this. And I feel a lot of people today, because of what's going on, and trust me, it's horrible. War in Ukraine, to inflation, gas prices going up, to transportation. There's all kinds of horrible stuff going on, but you still need to do the best you can to be accountable to yourself and responsible to others. That's huge.
Well, what I hear, Marcus, in your story is as you drove back into accountability, responsibility, it sounds like Marques Ogden got back to his integrity of what that big itty of saying, hey, this is what I'm about. And this is what my heart is. This is what my mind is. I'm using positive voice to myself. I'm going to do what I said I do, even when no one's watching. We are both faith-based guys. And like, hey, listen, we know that's not easy, right? And we're trying to walk that walk, and that is a tough walk. And our integrity is challenged every day in that. But I'm hearing that. Is that fair to say, Marcus?
Oh, absolutely it is. Because here's the thing, integrity is all about doing something to the highest degree with others' thoughts, their needs, and doing it honorably without any type of false, indication or false implications or trying to have an agenda. So integrity is a big part of it. And if I did not have the type of disposition in order to really be accountable and responsible, then where I'm at today doesn't exist. Because again, and I tell everybody, I thank God all the time for the custodian job for two reasons. One, it made me some extra money so I could, pay bills and get ahead a little bit or not fall behind. Or if I fell behind on the month, which sometimes we did, the NFL was paying and I was just trying to, find ways to stack a little extra money here or there for future reference. But what the custodian job did for me was it made me understand, and there's nothing wrong with being a custodian. People do it's an honest living without a doubt. But what made me realize is that I had a lot more potential because of my football career and what I learned education wise. I just put myself in a position of not really allowing others to feel valued and important. And I ended up losing everything because of my inability to actually be a good, strong listener. And when that happened, that's when I was able to finally realize through the custodian job that if I was going to get my life back to any sort of place where I wanted it to be, then I was going to have to be accountable to myself and responsible to my family and anybody else I came into contact with. Because at that time I had no team. I had nobody I was working with. I was just basically, a solopreneur. And that's what kind of got me going back and having a desire to speak because of that life-changing moment in 2013, September.
I want to take a pause here. I want to get a drink. Zyn, Immunity and Recovery. I love it. It's a curcumin product. I am loving this drink. Just recently got into these, and you can buy them at Costco, which is one of my favorite stores. Always check that out. Zyn, loving it. Marcus, tell me about, did somebody model that for you? Were you modeled that as a young age of the right thing to do, the accountability? Was that foundation built for you, or did you have to build that foundation as you went?
No. My father was a great example of the foundation, but I had to build it as I go because, when I left the NFL, a lot of things I was doing, I had to retrain myself and reprogram myself. And, the NFL gave me a great foundation. It taught me a lot of great things about discipline, focus, hard work. But I actually was talking to one of my coaches yesterday and we were discussing, and I just kind of realized in the moment yesterday that football also taught me some bad habits I had to break, like aggressiveness, need to impose my will, the desire to fight and all that. So the foundation of being somebody that was persevering, it kind of came through over time. And, again, like I said, it really turned on and magnified for me at that point as a custodian when I had to, get my life together after that spoiled milk moment to either raise up and go forward or continue just to feel sorry for myself, feel that I was a victim, feel that everybody was trying to take advantage of me, and just continue to not be where I wanted to be because I was just going to play victim mode for the entire time.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm so good at recognizing in others. The moment I hear the victim mentality, I'm like, I want to take a shower. It just sounds filthy and I want to wash it off. Yet I'm also the guy who can lean into it. And somehow that filter doesn't like I don't hear it in me. I hear it in everybody else. Like, oh man, listen to that victim mentality, Marcus. We would never do that. But then here I am like going, well, no one's giving me a chance because I'm not tall enough. And, I'm, like it's not fair. And other people, I'm stealing almost as many bases as everybody else. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, show me and make me a believer. People like, if you're out there and you're challenged today, like I'm telling you, we are only good as you are today. You've got to show them every day. There's a consistency in this workload and you've got to bring your best. And there's a lot of things that go into that. Marcus, I want to hear from you. Like, knowing what you know now, I mean, you take this hard turn, you're a successful NFL athlete, you roll that into a construction business, you're cooking with fire, man, and things are just rolling along. You lose your focus, right? And everything comes down. You're willing to go back to work, which is, take the custodial service job. But knowing what you know now,
Mhm.
what would you have done differently? What would you have done differently today?
You know, honestly, well, two things. One thing, I would not do anything differently, because if I'd done anything differently, I wouldn't be here today. But if I could just, wave a wand and then make everything in life perfect and have no ripples, all that, I would have made myself an active listener, not trying to, as somebody that would have listened to his trusted team. If you're listening to this podcast and you're an entrepreneur, or you work for an organization in which you pay people a salary, or a 1099 contracting consultant fee, whatever the case may be, if you're paying people and you're not taking their advice, you're wasting payroll dollars. That's all you're doing. You're wasting payroll dollars. When you hire someone, it should be full trust and full confidence that they can do the job until they prove they can't. And that was my mistake. My team had proven they could do the job over and over again, but my ego got in the way and it knocked me off course. And as a result of that, I ended up losing my best people. I ended up eventually losing my company and lost everything. So what I would tell people is that if I could go back, I would have made myself an active listener, and I would have learned that the biggest killer of any business or business owner is their ego. And I would have removed that from my DNA at that time. Or you really can't remove it. I would have kept it under control where it never surfaced to cause ultimate destruction and damage in my business.
I love that. I mean, and I feel like I hear this too many times, and I see it too often, Marcus, in our coaching business. People who have, you've gone all these links to get the right team members and all this vast experience. Like I want, right down in your neighborhood, I want this Duke graduate. Like, oh, and then here's a Duke graduate that's got 20 years of experience in their respective field, and then you don't choose to listen to them, right? Like, it's like crazy. Like, how does that make sense? And I'm reminded of my children, right? As 5 kids, I've always had at least one who's like, hey, dad, how about this? No, that's not okay. And that's not how we would do things as Clark's. Like, well, hey, Uncle Marcus, how about this? No, that's not okay. Well, hey, Mom, how about this? Like, hey, listen, everybody's telling you no until they find that one person who goes, hey, well, my counselor at school told me it's okay. Listen, 19 people told you no, and you didn't choose to listen to doing the right thing. And I see owners, replicating this 12-year-old environment. And I'm like, what are we thinking here, man? You want the answer that you want that fits my narrative, or why I should buy the $250,000 car, or whatever we're justifying in our mind, right? Talk to me about what you've seen there.
So I've seen people try to keep up with the Joneses. I've seen people try to live a lifestyle for others. I've seen people try to, do what they think others in society want them to do. And again, I'm not going to say everybody is like this, because it's not true, but they say, I think it's between 85 to 90% of society lives paycheck to paycheck. So when you have that type of mentality and you're living in that type of world, you need to really realize that keeping up with the Joneses is not where you need to be. Keep up with yourself, right? And do what you can do. And I tell people this all the time: stay within your budget. Whatever your budget is, that's what you need to stay within. Otherwise, you're going to have all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I think this is back this, immediate gratification, and I love to keep it simple, right? I mean, I think people really attract to like financial peace in that program because, hey man, it's really simple, right? And I saw a statistic that currently Americans spend 5% more than they make. So like, hey man, how's that going to play out? Like, we're all just going to live on credit? Like, eventually that's going to run out, right?
That's how people live. Like, literally, I remember I used to think like that, and I'm smarter than this, but because I was in such a bad financial place, like when we got our first credit card, because my wife had filed a bankruptcy chapter 11, which is it's like one of the, it's the least severe
Restructure. Yep. Restructure.
Yeah. She had some issues from her first marriage when she got divorced, and and she did that, and I had to file chapter 7, the complete worst. And I remember when we got our first credit card, I'm like, oh my God, yes, we have an asset. We have $2,200 in a credit card that we can utilize. Yay, we're good. We would charge on, like, oh, let's go to dinner and let's spend $400 here, da da da. And then we got the bill. I'm like, wait a second, like, wow, Marques, you know better than this. Like, you pay $400 for something that you're paying $450 to the credit card company. So you're spending an extra $50 just to do something that you're delaying the payment for, that you don't have the money to afford anyway. So why are you doing it? So like now, we're in a much different financial situation, and we have credit cards. I think we have about, total, we have one credit card that's for 10 grand, American Express. The one's like 20. So we have 10 grand, 2,200. We've got one for, I want to say 1,500. $1,750 and $800. So it's like we have like $15,000 total of credit cards available. Literally, we spend, like, if anything, maybe $100 a month on an Amex to kind of help raise our credit score. That's it. That's all. Or if I use it, I'll buy a plane ticket to go somewhere for work, like $400 or $500. I'll pay it off when I get a check from the job. Bam. There's no more using it like for extended periods of time. And we have the capital to do stuff, but we're trying to build credit. But again, it's smaller amounts. Like back in 2015 or 16, we got our first credit card. $400 was a lot to us. Today, $400 is still a lot, but it's not as comparable as it was in 2015. So I'm trying to make the point to people is live within your means, right? That's the most important thing. Live within your means. And when you do that, that's when you can start to build a legacy. But so many people, I feel, are trying to buy. Like we bought a nice home. We have a nice new 3,000 square foot home that we're in. We moved in October. We were renting for so long, this thrown away because my bankruptcy, my wife's, and all that type of stuff. And we couldn't get the right credit score. Didn't have enough assets. So we bought last year. We bought this house for $365, and its value now at $500,000. You know what I mean? And like like that. Yeah. So a quick 150 to or 160 of equity, in the house. Bam. But again, we're in no rush to like go somewhere. We're not in a rush to try to refinance. I mean, we can't do it yet, but if we could refinance and pull the money out and spend 50 grand, something we don't need to, we don't need to do that, right? We're fine. It's a nice asset to have. We know we have some capital if we need it, but it's not like, oh, we have $150. Let's just go and blow it on something stupid. I mean, something stupid. Because at the end of the day, you need to be thinking long term. Again, live in the moment, have fun. I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying don't try to get ahead of yourself or spend what other people have, right? So if you're trying to live like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, right? You don't see Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk trying to live like other big wig people. You know what I mean? You don't see that. Like they live for what they want and what they can do. And that's just the way it is. And so I feel if people continue to kind of keep that model, right, Trent, great things will happen for people.
Yeah, I think that when I saw this back in the day, especially in MLB, we'd come in, make league minimums about like 550,000, and they'd see the players who were 10-year veterans that were on like $7 million contracts. And the $7 million player is flying some friends in private, we're going to spend some time in New York, play long weekend, New York, Boston series, and gets a cool time to spend friends, maybe get a penthouse suite. Like, hey, listen, you're league minimum. You can't do that. Like you can't live like that. Like you don't have 7 million for 7 years. Like this isn't the deal. You're trying to establish yourself, and it's a challenge. And here's one on the general public that I saw as you talk about this real estate. I had a home out in Arizona, when I was in baseball, and, one of these ramps that we've seen in the last, 24 months on real estate, right?
Sure.
Just a flipping, rocket ship of equitable value. And man, all of a sudden I drive into my neighborhood one day, nice little gated community, nothing fancy. Houses are about $500,000. And when I drive in, all of a sudden I'm like, new Escalade, new Porsche, new Tesla. I'm like, everybody's grabbing $100,000 equity on their house and going to buy $100,000 car. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like, and of course, like most cyclical worlds here, as we know our markets a little bit, boom, 2 years later, everyone drops $250,000 in their house value, and all of a sudden you owe
You're in the
100
negative.
grand more than you have.
You're in the
Right?
negative. Yep.
And you're like going, we're not selling now. Like, we're in this thing for a while now because you're tied to the debt, right? So let me spin this a little bit to the thing I really want a couple questions from the audience. You've had a lot of success, Marques. You won a lot. What's the best battle in your life, in your lifetime, that you've conquered?
The battle of actually becoming a keynote speaker that could do and is doing corporate work. Because when I started, it was a big battle internally that I had to face. A lot of self-doubt, avalanche theory based of, life and, and disposition and just being, because there's not a lot of, almost, I'm 6'5.5", 6'6", 295-pound, double tattoo sleeve African-American speakers on the speaker circuit. They're not. I mean, it's predominantly a Caucasian-based male, between the age of, 35 to 55, type of field. And I had to face a lot of negativity, a lot of doubt, a lot of, no's when I started. And so conquering the battle of actually achieving success and achieving notoriety as a keynote speaker, more than just a sports-based speaker, is something that I've won, and I've continued to have to battle for a long time.
It's awesome. And this is a intimate look into the imposter syndrome right here. And we all have it. Like you do, I do, we all have it, because I'm sitting here going, Marques, you're an Adonis. You got, $1 million smile. You're a former NFL player. You've run a successful company doing over $1 million a year. Like you've done these things that, listen, the fraction of a percentage in this world have ever done, right? Including a 4-year university that's fabulous. I could just keep going down the list of all the accomplishments and attributes of Marques Ogden. So how could Marques Ogden ever feel like an imposter standing up in front of people telling his story? And it's a comparison. It's the danger of us pitting against what everybody else thinks, which people are always, I tell people, you're going to be shocked when you find out how infrequently they actually think of you. So stop worrying about what they think, because they're worried about themselves, because we all are, right? Mm-hmm. 2 is that comparison is a devil, right? It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. What have you learned in that?
So I've learned when you try to compare yourself to others, it's never going to be good enough. No matter how much you think you've won or lost, it's never, ever going to get you where you want to be. So don't even try. Don't even try, because it's not going to end well. Just worry about and focus on yourself. And again, I talk about focusing. One of the 3 keys of the success cycle is hard work, which is focus on yourself, not the competition. Because the competition, they're going to keep moving forward or backwards or side, whatever they do. If you focus on them, you're taking off from your trajectory of moving forward.
That is so good. And I tell you, one of the greatest coaches of all time was John Wooden, right? John Wooden, basketball coach of UCLA for a long time, passed about a decade ago, in his 90s, an incredibly mentally strong person. But Here's a guy who in all years, who won 10 national championships, right? 9 in a row, never looked at game film on another team. His whole focus was, we're going to practice hard. And if we do what we're supposed to be doing, I don't need to worry about what they're doing. Right. And I mean, that mentality alone today, Marcus, can you imagine that as we played a lot of high level sports here? Can you imagine as a coach walking in and going, I don't know who we're playing this Saturday, but let's go out and do our job. Wait, like, are they going to be quick on the outside? Are they got, they've got a passing game, a running game. We got 19 things we want to talk about right now. But like, wait a minute, we got a job. If we prepared for it, then we're just going to be the best we can be. And I think it's going to fall out okay if we've done our work.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't know that he never looked at any game film of the opponents. But again, when you win 10 national championships, I think you said 9 in a row, then obviously it works. So again, you have to focus on what you do well, what you and your strengths are, and that is going to be your saving grace. That's your foundation to build off of. And once you get to that trajectory, that's when things in life should get good, as long as you stay on track and move forward down the path.
You've seen a lot of people, and you've coached a lot of people too, man. And I think that powerful, the comparison when people talk about, you think you're something in the NFL, guess what? Look right next door and there's somebody bigger, stronger, faster, like automatically. There's always somebody better. And if they're not, give it 2 weeks because someone will be, right? And but when you talk about other folks, I love to ask this question. When people look in the mirror, what do you think they're missing about themselves that you can see right away with them?
Their biggest strengths. Most people focus on what they need to improve on or their weaknesses. And a lot of times they don't know clearly what their strengths are. And that is the essence of our coaching. It's to help you figure out what you do well first and then build from there. And once you figure that out, that's when life gets good.
And I think when I look about and I want you to speak about this too, I'll speak about my experience in professional sports. But one of the things that, and then I want yours, of course, is one of the things that a lot of people thought, and they would come ask me about, like, man, they must really work hard on their weaknesses and shore them up. And I'm like, oh, no. like they absolutely lean into the game where their strengths get exploited. And I call it the shampoo treatment: wash, rinse, repeat, man, because like, I'm going to keep doing this because I don't think you can stop me. And so, if I think, hey, if the changeup's working, I'm going to keep throwing changeups, and you won't see a fastball all day until you prove you can actually hit that pitch. And I see athletes who are just so good at it. And what they do is they take their strengths and they magnify them so high that they actually cover any weaknesses they may have. And if their weakness starts getting exploited, we have team members for that, right? Like, hey, my teammate, I'm getting my weakness exploited. Well, hold on. Here comes Marcus to pick me up, because as a teammate, my weakness is going to get exploited in the trench, right? I'm a little guy. I'm a fast guy. Hey, Marcus comes in because the game's going to be played on the inside. But if we got to go to the outside and we need quick cover guy, I'm going to help you. And this is where I'm going to pick up for Marcus, right? Because we can pull on each other's strengths, because that's what a good team does. Talk to me about what you've seen in a professional athlete who recognizes his strength.
Oh, when a professional athlete recognizes his strength and then delegates to other team members what he doesn't do well, so they can build a cohesive plan with an alignment around a shared vision of who is doing what, who is strong at what, who is going to take care of this, who you're going to delegate this and or that to. That's when teams win. Teams win when athletes understand what they do well, when coaches understand what athletes do well and don't do well, and they delegate and build the team around strengths and weaknesses of the players in order to exercise maximum effort times maximum effectiveness to get maximum results.
That's so good. Tell me quickly, how did you get developed by fellow coaches, others, leaders you were around, your father, your family? How did you feel like people came alongside and developed you into the man you are today?
They developed me by sharing their educational and, most importantly, their life experiences, which allowed me to go out there, do my own life, make mistakes, do well, learn from my mistakes, learn what I did well, and to build my life. Because when I know people's educational experiences and background combined with their life experiences and background, it creates maximum effort for me times maximum effectiveness, which is basically effective strategy implementation. And then when you do those things correctly, maximum results should be achieved. So that's how I've learned throughout my 41 years, almost now 42 years. I'll be 42 in November of life.
Awesome, Marques. First of all, Marques, we got to run here. I want to thank you so much for joining us today on the Winners Find a Way show. I know our listeners will see the value in this episode today. I enjoyed learning about how you pivoted to leaning back into that accountability, responsibility, and building up your integrity. Certainly, like learning about the bad habits that somehow formed that I had to be aware of, that I had formed some bad habits along the way. Being the active listener, and being a great listener. Listeners are leaders. He's hit it again. You've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, but if you haven't, Marques just reiterated. Active listening is one of the most key elements that you're going to have as a leader. Being aware of the imposter syndrome and the danger of comparison. It's a absolute devil's den, and it's never going to serve you. So I'd watch for it. And then, of course, when you see, when we're all so focused on our weaknesses, like dive into your strengths, know what you do well. I just had this conversation this morning with somebody, Marques, about how important it was that I shifted out of basketball, that I was spending a ton of energy and just very average, maybe below average even, to really focus in on my baseball, my tennis, which took me to a whole nother level. And I stopped doing things that just weren't my great strength at 5'6", 165 pounds, right? So great example of life experiences of those people who came around to help educate, help share their stories. You can find those people in mentors. You can find them all sorts of things in your life. Tell me, I want to finish with this is when you're down, is there somewhere when you've been in that tough spot, and we have ups and downs during the days, is there a quote or something that you go to when things are tough on you?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes by Aristotle, which is very simplistic but very direct. In times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. And Aristotle said the light is inside of you and all of the darkness is around you. If you focus on the light during times of extreme darkness, you can come out on the other side. So again, the quote is, in times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. Aristotle.
I love that. I love that, man. That's a great quote, and always strong, man. I'm excited. If there is a last thing that I'd love to hear from you is last segment on the best way to win. What's the one thing, if you had to tell somebody, hey, you got to get out, you got to face it, best way to win today, what would your advice be to somebody?
Go out and live your day and pack your day with action. The best leaders are biased towards taking action. If you make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on. But don't let procrastination, paralyzation, or fear hold you back. So go out and pack your day and take action today right away.
Love it. That's so good. I love to highlight small business brands. Drink Branders is a company that I got to know recently. Love these companies. I'm always traveling with healthy products and stuff like that. My wife's great to me. She's making me, vegetables and stuff. So I love getting in there, and man, they make the best tumblers in the world, and they'll do them for anything, any brand, anything. And great group out of Traverse City, Michigan. So super impressed with them. Marques, super impressed with you. Thank you for coming aboard. For everyone, tell them again where they can find you, Marques.
They go to our website, www.marques, MARQUES, Ogden, OGDEN.com, and they can connect with us today.
Perfect. My handle's Trent M. Clark, leadership and all the social media. Thank you for joining us. Enjoyed today's episode. Please continue listening and rating Winners Find a Way 5 stars. I hope we work hard to find 1% stories like Marques Ogden. Thank you so much, Marques. Have a great afternoon, everybody. We'll see you next time on Winners Find a Way.